Hi. The film I was interested to see that I watched the other day was News of the World, Paul Greengrass's new film. Quite a departure for him in that it's a period movie in period costume, and it's the story of a traveling news reader, played by Tom Hanks in Texas in 1870, who takes under his wing a young girl who, having been adopted by um, a First Nation tribe after her family is killed, has apparently been rescued and was being transported back to relatives when the man accompanying her was murdered. So the newsreader takes her under his wing to travel with her cross country, and over the course of the journey, they develop a bond. The job of the newsreader is an interesting one because people were so busy, because lines of communication were so poor. He would simply travel from town to town with various recent editions of newspapers and read aloud stories from them, almost like a one man show. And the film does make some interesting points about the importance of lines of communication, of the way people react to news stories, and the way you can keep control of people by controlling what they hear about the outside world. And these things are very in keeping, I think, with uh, Greengrass's other work, particularly his earliest work in literature and in documentary television. Um, but they contrast against what is, for the most part, a fairly rote modern western. Um, Tom Hanks is extremely good in the lead role. The young German actor Helena Zengel as the young girl I thought was exceptional. Her role is performed entirely in the Kiowa language and fragments of German and some half understood words of English. And it's a really remarkable performance, and she's been tipped for major award success for it, and rightly so. And it's interesting to see Greengrass changing his directing style with the Bourne films and United 93 and Captain Phillips. He has a handheld, fast edit style. This film is much more traditional with slower edits, beautiful cinematography. It looks like a Ron Howard film, the way that Ron Howard films look very traditional and classical and staid, but his films are generally not very deep. Whereas this actually is, it has themes to it which are fascinating and engaging and very contemporary. Um, the environment of Texas after the Civil War, where there are so many people angry and disenfranchised and disaffected by seeming defeat of their way of life, and racism and white supremacy is still very much on the surface. In contrast, Hanks's character was a veteran of the Civil War, fought in the Texas infantry, and understands that yes, we lost, but what is there to be gained from more fighting? It is just more death. It is more destruction. We have to move forward, and we have to work together and heal our new nation. And being played by Tom Hanks, of course, he is the soul of goodness, but there is a believable edge to him when he's played darker characters in the past. It often hasn't quite worked, but he is a good character, but he has an edge of realism to him, and there are definite edges of unpleasantness and reality to this. There is white supremacy, there is racist murders, there's even a group of apparent uh, child traffickers interested in acquiring the young girl for themselves for good, goodness knows what reason. Overall, it's an interesting film. It's a well-made film. There's an excellent score by James Newton Howard. It's a very well-acted film, but it's just that at its core, the story is just not that interesting and not that original. Everything else about it is worth your attention and worth your time. It's a film that I think I will think about a lot more in retrospect than I was watching it, and I will think about the ideas and the imagery much more than I will the story. So it's recommended, but with one or two caveats.